We're not here to make up the numbers, we're here to compete as well. This squad, with the power they have on their day, they can do anything they want.
Hello and welcome to the Glassgirls Network with me, Jonathan. Today I am finally joined by Harry O'Neill. How you doing, Harry?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, very well. So Harry is one of the first team coaches and the under-18s coach this season as well. So today we just want to have a little talk about a bit of a roundup. Harry's roundup makes sense. Yeah. But also something that I'm looking forward to hearing a bit about, the staff dynamic. So there's a lot of coaches at Stourbridge in the women's section, so it'd be good to hear how they're all kind of linked and how they all do their own role, and then we'll try and end up talking a little bit about the Wolves match, the Wolves final as well. So plenty to discuss. Harry, Sunday, it's nice to have a game, isn't it? Or is it nice? I don't know.
It's a very, very weird feeling. I think considering we've had a schedule of having sometimes 3 games within the space of 9-10 days, to suddenly have a Sunday where you wake up and we haven't got any football. Obviously we've got training slightly later on today, but other than that, it's a strange one really. It's a strange one to wake up to.
Yeah, I think the game being on a Tuesday has kind of helped us a little bit because the girls usually don't plan to do anything on a Sunday because they're playing. So I guess to kind of move a game into a training session has worked well for them. Will it be a full turnout today? Any injury issues or any concerns or anything ahead of the cup final?
I think we're looking okay. I think it's going to be a case of just our last little prep. To be honest with you, I think if we can get some stuff over the line, any final key messages, any opportunity where we don't have a game is an opportunity to try and progress. So I think for us, it's just more opportunities to get final little tweaks, final ones that maybe any kind of last minute questions the girls might have for a plan for Wolves. So we shall see how we get on and hopefully be a good result.
Yeah, we'll discuss Wolves and how well they've done this season as well towards the end of the show. But let's talk a little bit about how well Stourbridge have done this season. So you got the phone call probably like summer last year saying they want you to join the under-18s as well. What were your initial thoughts about that? Because that means you had to work on a Saturday and a Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost a brief discussion that me and Andy had probably within the latter stages of last season. I think the league had already been kind of finished by then in terms of, we'd been promoted, and Andy kind of, it's what's great about the club. We're always looking to kind of the next steps before the summer. We're proactive with everything that we do. So I think, to be honest with you, we had a conversation, and he was like, it's an opportunity to progress my leadership skills a little bit more. I've always known, obviously, to be a coach, you've got to have leadership abilities. You've got to be able to, your organisational skills. I think for me, it was an opportunity to kind of showcase that a little bit more and kind of develop. And I mean, listen, being under Andy and Mike now for 3 years, I've almost been a melting pot of knowledge between the two of them. You learn certain things from each one of them, and the lads that obviously we're staffing with as well. So I think, to be honest, getting an opportunity to coach more and to showcase your coaching with a team that's got a lot of potential and just won their 16s league going into the 18s, it was a massive opportunity, and something that, yes, it's more of a workload, but something as a coach you can't really turn down.
Yeah, and obviously what you've learned from Mike and Andy you can take to the 18s, but I'm sure it works the other way around, because obviously you can be a bit more vocal on the under 18s because obviously Guysy and Dave are vocal, but obviously you join in as well, and with the half-time talks and stuff. Is there anything that you've took from the 18s maybe to the first team at all?
Coaching confidence, I think, to be honest with you. I think, to be honest, when I always enjoyed coaching the girls in the first team, I still do, obviously, but when it was a different outlook, it's a different age group, different people to learn their behaviours, the way they, the way they respond to coaching instructions, and I think it was a learning experience for me, but it's something that I could really take into the first team then, about how do certain people react to certain ways that you speak to them, certain instructions, or do certain people need certain motivation than others? Do people not need the motivation? Do they find it not patronising, but do they take it and react in different ways? So I think for me it was an opportunity to experiment my coaching style, to kind of give different approaches to different players, and as you say, joining with the half-time team talks, it can develop my tactical knowledge a bit, and Dave and Matt, who obviously the other staff members in the team, Matt had this was Matt's project, Matt's baby, so to speak, in terms of the team that he's progressed for many years. So it wasn't my job to kind of go in there and change all of that, but it was my job to kind of go in and essentially facilitate an 18's progression to get them ready for reserve and first team football. And I feel like that was a massive opportunity for me and something I could really work on.
I was going to say, so are you kind of like the link between them both? Would you kind of describe yourself as that, or
in a way? I think that's the way I kind of took it. I didn't want to go in there, and as I said with Matt, Matt guys, he's excellent at what he does. He brought Dave in as well, who he's worked with before, and them two have got obviously a really good understanding of each other. And I feel like that's essentially, it's their project, it's their team. It was their chance to go and get players ready for development, but also he won the league before, so of course he's going to want to go win the league again. And I think that's that's an amazing winning mentality that we've got throughout the club. So my job essentially wasn't to go in and smash that to pieces and change everything around. My job was to kind of go in and, like I said, get players ready for reserve team and first team football. Kind of prep these younger girls, especially most of them not being in an under 18s bracket. A lot of them being 15, 16, 17, some of them. So it's to kind of just get them initial steps ready for joining the women's section and building a project that we can pull players through with it, basically.
Yeah, I know obviously you know the players anyway from training sessions, but how did you find the difference from like managing those 15, 16, 17 year olds as opposed to very experienced Stourbridge first team players who've got promoted, and how did you find the difference from managing both sets of age groups?
I think you've got to adjust your style. I think you've got to, some of these girls, like you say, in the first team are very, very experienced players. Some are veterans, they've won things before, they know how to win and they're winners. So they expect things in certain ways and it's very high standards, and it's fantastic. And I think you can bring some of that to an under 18s level, but a lot of it, like you say, when they're 15, 16, they just want to be told how good they are. They just want to know, they want you to be their best mate. And, my role, with the first team that I've had for a while was to be the players' best mates. And that's the one probably thing that I drew from the first team into the under 18s, is to kind of put my arm around people a little bit, be the guy that's kind of going to keep pushing them and say, yeah, don't worry about it, it's fine, let's keep going, let's find different ways. And you can build a confidence from somebody at such a young age. I think you can turn them into a fantastic footballer, because 9 times out of 10 the ability's there.
Yeah,
it's the mental mindset. It's, can you get them prepped to believe in themselves a little bit more at that kind of level, to think they're confident enough to go play for the Resis, and when they do, if they perform, it's even more of a confidence boost, and you can really snowball effect that. I think that mentality to turn them into like a monster footballer, basically.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I've seen a few under 18s games this season, and you look at some of them and how quickly that they managed to get into the reserve team, and obviously a couple of cup games that were in the first team, and it is all about belief, isn't it? And just trying to get as many minutes on the pitch as possible, and they put the work in, don't they? Because some of them do play on the Saturday and the Sunday as well, and it is a big graft. How has their performances and results been this season then?
I mean, look, it's their first time in, entering the under 18s kind of division, because they won the league before as well. They're in a slightly higher division of the under 18s. It was a learning curve for some. I think learning curve for us as coaches as well, me, Matt, and Dave, because some of the competition, especially up in the upper half of the table, it can be quite tough. But they're a very, very good team that the 18s have got, that we've got at this club. They're such good, talented footballers, and I've said it to them time and time again. Their ability is outstanding. I think the main adjustment going into that league was, again, mental mindset. You're playing teams that are almost second year under 18, so they're touching 18, maybe even 19 for some of them. When we're playing 15, 16 year olds, they're not physically developed. They're slightly smaller. So it's going to be a case of going in and being like, well, this is what's in front of us. This is what we're going to deal with. But they've done really well. We've got one game to go. We're sat in second. We'd have loved a top 3 finish at the start of the year. Looking at this now, I think a top 3, if we can get top 2, I think that's more probably the target, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We've got Derby, who are top of the league, will probably go and run away with it. But I think to come second, and having beaten Derby in one of the games in the league, I think that's very, very respectable for a team that have just kind of come into that league.
Yeah, very much so. And how are the players reacting? So obviously they've done really well this season, as you just mentioned. To see how well the 2 National League clubs have done this season as well. Are they excited about the prospect of next season, because there are going to be changes? Or are they a little bit nervous? Or what's the mentality like within the players?
I think it's a mix. I think there'll be a lot of changes, you suggested. I think, especially because the 18s essentially won't be a thing next season. It'll almost be like a development team. It's an opportunity for some of those to be split into where they essentially belong to go. I think, you know, the ones that have kind of gone into the resis already have done very, very well. Can you expect to see them there next season? It's not up to me, but you can imagine that probably some of them will feature there again because they've done well there. And I think, you know, the development team next season and the reserve team football next season, the style of football, the brand of football is going to be very, very different. And that's the approach that we kind of wanted, to be honest with you. So I think some of them will be probably excited to kind of go and try a different style of football. And some of them will probably be more comfortable to stay in whichever bracket they're in and kind of, you know, carry on being the way they are. But it's for us as coaches to decide whatever's best for their progression, whatever's best for their development as a footballer, especially at that age. You've got to put them in the correct environment. I think the work that Mike does in the academy also aids that. Because you've got an opportunity again for, like you say, some of them are playing Saturdays, Sundays and even Wednesdays. Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot for a young footballer, but it's more and more opportunities to learn and try different brands of football, and for us as coaches to see where they belong.
Yeah. Will they be still integrated with the first team next season in regards to the training sessions? So obviously with the first team stepping up to Tier 3, you know, there will be more training sessions, you'd think, probably, you know, just to kind of get that physicality in there. Will that be something that the Tier 7 team might be looking at doing next season, or is it still up in the air at the moment?
I don't think it's something we've confirmed, but it's something we've always done. I think we've always prided ourselves on training as a section, as training all together as a unit, because it enables a flexibility. You know, if somebody drops out, you know, great, let's pull a reserve player in. For us, it fills the numbers and gets us what we need to develop. You know, in the first team, this is to get the right things out of the session, but. Wow, you know, as a reserve team player, suddenly, you know, you're going to show up to training after school or work or whatever and get told, oh, you're training with the first team. It's an ample opportunity. So for development, especially for a development team player, if they're doing really well, they can jump into the reserve session or jump into a first team session. I think that training as a whole unit provides them ample opportunities.
Yeah. So that's pretty much you done with the under-18s after the final game, I would have thought. We still have any involvement away from match days, do you know, or will it mainly just be throughout the training days? Or
I think because we're changing the team, so to speak, into the devs. I think it will be more of a case of, you know, flipping back to the first team. But I mean, as like you say, when we're training all together, it's opportunities for us to go across and look and see what's going on. So we're all going to be playing on a Sunday. We're all going to be looking out for everybody's results now. So
exactly.
Like the 3-4 game a week in terms of, you know, that some players won't, you know, some players have been doing won't be around anymore. But you know, like you say, it's good to, you know, for us to be able to look and go, right, our game's finished. How have the resis gone on? How have the devs gone on?
Yeah.
And, you know, if we can have 9 points in one day, it's fantastic.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah,
I've been excited about this more than most. I've been talking about the development team within the fan base more than most, because I'm really excited to see it, because I think, you know, I've got that bit of loyalty because I've been to the, you know, the under-18s games. You see a few at the, you know, back at the club, you know, not many of them, but I think that'll probably change next season, especially if they do well in their league, and hopefully they will, because, you know, looking at what they've done for the last 2 seasons, going into Tier 7 with the guidance of, you know, all the women's section coaches, you know, I'm expecting a lot of happy faces next season coming back to the club, you know, not just the 2 teams, but 3 as well. We spoke a little bit there about different coaches, so let's move on and talk a bit about all the coaches that we've got and the dynamics and everyone's role.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just talking from a first team perspective, you know, sometimes we've joked and turned around, you know, we've looked at certain teams' dugouts and we've gone, bloody hell, like, we've got more coaches than they've got players, especially sort of the old, you know, the tier 6, tier 5 days when I first joined. But I mean, it's such a good thing to have so many people that are good at so many different things. And when I talk about staff dynamic, I think, you know, we've all got different roles in this club. Yes, there's, you know, your head coach, your manager, your first team coaches, your physios, but I think we all offer something, you know, not just specific to that role, but we all offer something very, very different in terms of how can we contribute and, you know, where we are as people as well.
So how do you, so we'll talk separately, then we'll talk a little bit about training.
Yeah.
We'll talk a bit about match days and talk about like throughout the week as well.
Sure,
so when you're not, you know, when you're at home, and obviously Mike, obviously he's a full-time coach, so when he's at home, he's still got his analysis and tactics and admin work. But like, what kind of stuff do you do when you're not actually with the players to kind of prepare for training and match days?
I think the group chat doesn't stop. The management chat, you know, as you've alluded to, and as you've, you know, when you've seen firsthand the stuff that Mike gets up to. You know, if there's anything that needs to be delegated to us as staff, then that's what we handle, you know, as almost the first and foremost. You know, we want to try and obviously help Mike as much as we can. We don't expect him to do everything. So, you know, if Mike turns around and goes, H, I need you to do this, can you look at this clip? Fine, we will. Okay. Same with Jackson as well, who does a lot of the analytical side of it this season.
Yeah.
For me personally, I check in a lot on the players in general. You know, I spend a lot of time, almost too much time probably here on a Sunday, but it's one of them where I think, you know, I've been in almost a lucky position really, where my job as a first team coach is to be a lot of the players' best mates, you know, and that's not me putting on a facade to kind of go, I'm just going to do everything for you. I mean, it's an opportunity for me to be natural, to be who I am, and I think it's one of the best jobs you can have. I think. So my week, you know, a lot of the time is, right, did I see something that wasn't quite right with somebody on a Sunday? Maybe I've had a chat with them then, or you know, just dropping on them on Monday. How are you? You okay? You back at work? All right? What's going on? And, you know, so away from the football side of things, it's the facilitation of the players. How's everybody doing? How are we as staff? We'll regroup again and kind of go over what we need to go through. So it's what my week looks like away from football anyway, at least for the first early part.
And then training and match days, how do you kind of get involved there?
Training, again, we'll kind of outline what we need to do in terms of what's going to happen, you know, in the session the day before or in a couple of days from now. So typically Mike would probably go, right, this is what we want. Or Andy would go, right, gents, I need you to kind of work on this week. So we'll delegate and we'll go, right, I might work on 15, 20 minutes on this, for example. Mike will then go and do something else, and then Brad or something can help me do this. So because we've got the staff, because we've got, you know, the staff that's so good in their different roles, we've been able to, we're quite lucky to delegate and do different things like that. And as I said earlier, for me, I think it's an opportunity to use the developed skills that I've had with the 18s to kind of go, right, I can prove myself a little bit now in the first team. And the gents trust me to put on a session to, you know, to lead these tier 4, now tier 3 footballers into a big week against Wolves, for example. You know what I mean? So it's good. Yeah, we try and plan out as much as we can before the session, and then we'll delegate what needs to be done there.
Just for anyone who's watching who doesn't know too much about Stourbridge, or you might have watched a few games, just talk a little bit, a very brief outline of all the other coaches then that are involved, because there is almost like an army of coaches now across the 3 teams, because obviously it's a big setup that we've got now. It's not just the one first team. We've got a reserve team in the National League that plays the likes of Wolves, Albion, Derby, you know, week in, week out, Forest. We've got a new women's team setting up. So you've got Matt, Dave on obviously one team. You've got G, Sean and Sav. You've got Dan and Jackson that you mentioned. Brad obviously spent the second half of this season with us, and of course Mike and Andy as well. Just kind of give a brief outline on like everyone's different kind of roles, or what you kind of see, how to kind of separate them so they don't keep on treading on each other's toes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when in terms of, you know, developing as a coach and going through almost like the official, you know, going through your badges and things like that, they talk a lot. I mean, I won't bore you to death too much on it, but the FA talk a lot about this thing called the 4-corner model, and it's essentially 4 different aspects that you need to have as a coach, or that you should have. One of them like your physical side of it, your tactical side of it, or technical, psychologically and social. And I think, to be honest, we all kind of cover different areas without realising. You know, like you said, we've got your head coach, your manager, that you have that, you know, your list of responsibilities. But I think with the way our dynamics work so well this year is that we're all very good at being able to put our characteristics into these different areas. You know, you look at Mike and you think technically, tactically, it's insane. It's immense. You know what I mean? It carries us forward so far in terms of, you know, how well we've done the past few years. For me, I think I'm very much almost like the psychological, social side of it. You know, for me, it's more about, right, how do I make players tick? How can I get the right responses out of players? How can we get the right, you know, interaction between the two?
Almost managing as well as coaching then, really, because that's kind of what you're describing there is almost like man management, you know, how to get the best out of someone. And I think, like you say, again, that's and Andy comes into it there as well, because as you say, as a man manager, he's probably one of the best I've ever seen. You know, to do that, you've got to have, you know, emotional intelligence. You've got to understand that, you know, certain players are going to react, and he'll know more than anybody that how to have a conversation with, I don't know, let's say Lammy, for example, might be different to how you have a conversation with Alex, or it could be the same. Could be
he knows more than anybody, I think,
Yeah.
socially how to get the right responses from different players. And I think that's something that I tried to learn from a lot this season. I think Brad coming in has been very, very almost on the physical side of it. He helps me drive the sessions, the intensity.
Yeah.
He's very active. He's very bouncing around the sessions. So and then Dan and Jackson as well. Almost help Mike technically, tactically with all the the finer details and the analysis of what's going on. So you can almost fraction us into these 4 different areas, but we all contribute in them different ways.
I think it's great on recruitment. Brad came in, and whether or not we needed another coach at that point, I believe that it would take the pressure off you guys and take the pressure off Mike and Andy. Massively. So I think that was the right thing to do. But it wasn't just a case of just getting anybody in. It had to be like the right kind of person. And I think Brad's done a cracking job this second half of the season since he's been here. But we're in a position there because that structure's set up, and I don't think we get enough credit for this as a club, or at least as a women's section, how it is all set up now. There's no rush to kind of just get anybody in. It has to be the right type of person. So you can have as many qualifications as you want, but it needs to be, okay, so what do we actually need? And obviously we've gone out and, we got Brad, and obviously next season there might be an opportunity for somebody else. What do we actually need? And there's no rush to just get anybody in. It's about the right type of person as well, isn't it?
Spot on. And I think that the same can be said about the players. Yeah. You bring somebody like Lois Jeffries in halfway through the season, who's an absolutely phenomenal footballer, but she's a fantastic character. You know what I mean? All of the girls will tell you that she's genuinely, someone that's come in and just settled in straight away. She's cracking jokes. She's taking the mick out of people. But then when it comes to training, she's professional as you like. She wants to get results. She wants to train hard. Yeah. She wants to score. She'll come up to us with suggestions and go, maybe this isn't working.
Okay.
So it's the right character. You can bring in as really good footballers or really good staff, but if you've got to be the right character, you've got to be able to contribute in some way that we need. And these, especially in the first team, or to be fair, to say throughout the whole section, the Resi's on the 18s as well. They're a vibrant group of girls and a vibrant group of staff that we've got at the club. Yeah. We're loud, we're energetic, we're intense in our sessions, but we want the best out of people. We're the most, we're supportive of each other, and I think you've got to kind of, if you follow that philosophy, then you settle in very, very well here, I think.
We'll move on to the first team shortly, because I do want to discuss that as well. Sure, but I don't want to just push over this, because I think this is something that maybe a few teams just don't kind of understand what you guys have set up in the women's section, because like I said, the infrastructure that people keep talking about, that particular word, this is all the stuff that's being set up behind the scenes. So, Mike Harris has got the time to do his analysing, because he doesn't need to necessarily worry about other things, because they've got you, Dan and Jackson there, and that's just one thing. Andy can step away and manage players because he's got Mike to oversee some of the training sessions. And I was fortunate enough to be in this room actually when I was doing a week in the life of Mike Harris, and seeing how that was kind of organised, and it was bang on. It was like, I've been involved in like management meetings in the past, nothing to do with food, nothing to do with football, but in food retail, and it was kind of set up very similar. Like, okay, so this is your project, you talk about this, and like Andy kind of just directed it, facilitated it. Everyone, respected Mike's word, so you all kind of fed Mike and Andy the answers. And Mike basically at the end kind of just summed everything up and said, right, so this is what we're going to do with this person. You kind of gave him all the information. He kind of like dished it out and kind of gives the results. And Andy says, yeah, well, then we'll see you in a few weeks, so let's just make sure it happens. And I just think all that isn't seen, on match day. We see it because we're involved in it, but I just don't think the club kind of gets the recognition from outsiders about exactly how structured this women's section is. Do you want to have your say on that?
I think it's elitism. I think a little elitist mentality that we've got. I remember one of the very first conversations I had with Andy when I first met him 3.5, nearly 4 years ago now, was he said, I have like two rules, I think he said it was, and it was back the manager. So obviously as a staff, let's be cohesive. We can disagree with him, like you're saying, when we have rooms like this and we come in and we talk, and maybe that wasn't right. But I think publicly, we always obviously back your staff, back your decisions, regardless of whether they're right or wrong or not. And the other rule, I think, was we're professional as much as we can be. I think, yes, we can have a laugh and a joke with the players, and we have obviously a couple of drinks and stuff like that every now and again when we can. But you think you've got to, if we want to be, this is when I was in tier 6, if we want to be tier 4, tier 3, event tier 2 footballers in God knows how many years, you've got to put the foundations in place, and you've got to almost act as if you already are in that position. And I think, you know, we didn't come to tier 4 thinking right now we've got to act like a tier 4 football club. I think we already were. We were already acting that kind of way. We were already having the foundations and the layout of training, to the conversations with players, to, you know, everything in between, the dynamic between the different sections and stuff. I think we had that anyway to begin with, and I think that's what's boosted our progression even more, along with fantastic performances on the pitch. I think stuff you see, like you say, behind the scenes, the things that keeps the club ticking, has been, you know, exceptional in terms of being able to get promoted again, and I think that's essentially we've got to step it up again in tier 3 next year, but it's something that we're massively, you know, excited for, and something we really want to implement.
You kind of just made me think of that saying, like, fail to prepare to fail. I think all the things that you do behind the scenes, the hard work that you do behind the scenes, come that 90-minute game, it's quite simple for the players. You know, they don't need to go in there with their heads jumbled up or anything, because all the stuff throughout the whole week, you make it as easy as possible for those guys to put on a performance, and they have done. Because, you know, just look at this season with what the first team have done. You know, potentially going to be like 9 points clear by the end of this season, potentially 12. It's almost extraordinary to see what we've done, but part of me isn't surprised from what I have seen this season as well, like I say, behind the scenes. But what's your take on the first team this season?
It's crazy. Just to be honest with you, it's absolutely mental. We had a meeting similar to probably what you'd come in and seen halfway through the season. We had another one right at the beginning, and we kind of went over the whole section as, you know, 18s. This is what we kind of want this year. You know, we want so many players to be promoted into the resis in the first team, and we want you to finish in set position. Same with the resis, and then with the first team as well. Unofficially, officially did we say let's go and win the league? No, but unofficially, I think, you know, we winners here, and we always have been. Would have been a case of, you know, to be honest with you, we just wanted to just win as many games as we can, and if, you know, like, we'll win and keep winning. We'll approach every game to win. And if that put us at the top of the table 2-3 games in, which it pretty much did, we found ourselves in a position where, like, right, we're top now, we're not going to let that slip. Yeah. So, and that's, you know, and this is something Andy alluded to probably about 120 odd times. He said this season, we don't stop. We never did, you know, the whole time. We did, you know, even when we lost first game of the season, it was a bit of a culture shock, I think, kind of welcome to the National League. I think we needed it, and I think, you know, it's whether that happens again next season, I think, again, I will need it. I think it's a great adjustment point, and we went on to go win, 10 games in a row or something like that, and it's put us in a great stead to go on and win the league. But credit to the girls, credit to, you know, the performances we put on the pitch. I think both home and away, especially to, you know, your longer jaunts, your longer trips. That some of them coming from tier 5 probably haven't really done that before. So, like, it's just credit to them completely. You know, they're fantastic footballers. They deserve everything they won this year.
How did we do it then, Harry? Just because I'm thinking to myself, going into the season, you know, having spoken to a few people, I knew what our team were capable of. Obviously, I followed them for the season before that as well. I didn't know too much about our rivals. You know, I watched a lot of YouTube clips. I follow people on Twitter. I look at the FA full time. You know, I do listen to other people who follow their own clubs. You know, so I've got like Donny Bell's fans, Leithfield fans, you know, this, that, and the other Peterborough fans who I chat to. But you don't just suddenly win the league, and like you say, you know, after the first 3 or 4 games, we kind of put a marker down, because we weren't just winning 1 or 2-0. You know, we was making up that goal average. Is it kind of like, did we over exceed? Did other teams under perform, or how do you kind of sum it up?
I wouldn't say we over exceeded, or I think you could say some teams underperformed, but I don't think that means if they would have performed, we wouldn't have finished top. I think we just performed exactly how, you know, we wanted to and we should have. I think, you know, we come into the league thinking, right, let's give it a crack. Let's literally just don't stop and win as many games as we can. You know, not to let's just try and stay up or anything like that. We wanted to do really, really well and, you know, go and push on. And I think that comes from, you know, the right recruitment over the summer. I think that comes from the homework that we've put in terms of, you know, from a staff perspective anyway, in terms of, right, this is how they play, this is the footage, this is anything. We gather as much information as we can to try and do what we can, as much prep before the games to, get the girls ready. I think it's the girls' mental attitude. It's a lot of them work full time. It's coming to training. It's a long slog. You have a long day on a Tuesday. You've had a terrible day at work or whatever, and you have to come and train and listen to me, Mike, and Andy, Dan, and Brad screaming and shouting at you. I think I'd want to say some choice words to myself, to be fair. But at the end of the day, it's them kind of things that all come together. I think it's the dedication from the staff, the dedication from the girls, and everything in between. As well as backing from the club and the backing from you guys. I mean, this stuff doesn't go unnoticed. Doesn't go unnoticed definitely to the girls. Your Anthony's that are screaming and shouting every week when he makes a 6-7 mile round trip, to 7 hour round trip. It's a combination of everything. You can't put it down to one thing. You cannot. But it's just the combination of everything that we've done to really be a successful football club.
I think the master stroke, and we'll never know what would have happened if this didn't happen. But when Lexi and Lois did join over Christmas time, I'm sure Mike won't mind me saying this, but I remember having a conversation with Mike during Christmas time, and it stuck in my head, and I'll never forget it because it was so clever. Well, not clever, but like it was just so honest in what he said. He said he doesn't deal in maybes, he deals in guarantees. And he thought, by bringing these two players in, it would really support our chances of continuing to win that league. And, and it did, didn't it? Because those two players are quality and nobody else could bring in that quality. Obviously, we kept that momentum going, so strike while the iron's hot. I'm a big fan of that. So while the club's on a high, while the team's on a high, or the players will be looking across thinking, I want to join them because look at them flying. And I think that's kind of what we kind of done, didn't it, with Lois and Lexi? I mean, do you just want to kind of shout out those two? Because what they've done is they really cemented our chance of getting promoted, didn't they? I
mean, I won't blow up Lois's head too much. People have spoken to her a little bit, but no, I think you're right. I think you're bang on. As Marty said, he's absolute. We don't want to ride our luck and think we had a great start. We'll probably teeter off at the end, maybe get over the line. We wanted to sprint over the line. We wanted to get there before the game, before the season's done. And we did that. This is exactly what we wanted to do, exactly what we did last year. And the momentum that we're going to carry on into next season is something we're going to do again. I'm not going to go say we're going to win the league, but I mean, like, in terms of we're going to carry everything we've done, every kind of momentum, and really try and kick on next year. Part of that is signing players at the right time, at the right characters to get them in. I think, as I've alluded to with Lois before, I think she's fantastic both on and off the pitch. Lexi's exactly the same, and I think Lexi's, you look at her and I think, you see a footballer, you know what I mean? You brought in somebody
an athlete as well.
Yeah, they look after themselves. She's, in terms of the gym work she does, the nutrition. I think she does all the right things off the pitch. And it's almost it's admirable. I think to some of the other girls who kind of look and go, wow, she's. Well, I think their first look to her and thought, bloody hell, she's crazy. The amount of stuff that she does in the gym and whatever. But it's fantastic to see, and I think it's the right role models that you need to kind of, especially for some of the younger ones, and especially like if we, like you say, you get reserve team players coming in, you look at players like that and you think, that's a footballer, that's exactly where you want to be in 2-3 years' time, or I don't know how old you are, maybe the next year or the year after. So, Lexi Lois coming on and, performing so well on the pitch is added to what's already a fantastic team, but they contributed, I feel like, probably more off it as well in terms of building, what's an exceptional group of players into another lot of league winners. Yeah.
Just before we talk about Wolves, of course, you have time as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to shout out the league leading goal scorer in the DC? Yeah. Shout out Amy Preston, Golden Glove, and also the player who's captained us, who's been with us for a long time, Amber Lawrence. So do you just want to maybe touch on those three and what a season those three have had?
Yeah, look, I mean, Deezy come flying out the blocks, and that's exactly what we expected to do. We saw it last year. She was a pain in the backside, to be honest with you, in terms of us trying to win the league because of Sutton. We always had to chase Sutton given the games in hand and stuff that we had, and every time we played her, she was a nightmare. And so was Sophie Levick for that aspect as well. Scoring a hat trick against us, but. We signed Deezy knowing that she'd be a number 9 to perform in this league, and that's exactly what she did. Just every single game, regardless whether she started or whether she just come off the bench for half an hour, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. You're always a threat. She's always been a threat there, and I think thoroughly deserved to win the Golden Boot. I think even in the latter stages of the season, where she wasn't scoring every game. She's still put in number 9 performances, you know what I mean? Still come on as a striker and still held up the ball, got others into play. And I think that goes unnoticed a little bit sometimes. I think the strike force that we've got are very good at that. Lois, Deasy, Mill. I think they're very good at holding up the ball and bringing each other into play. And I think that's yes, she's won the Golden Boot, but tell you what, she's had a brilliant season all year round. I think Amy speaks for herself, and what she said. I think she mentioned it when she won the Golden Boot. It's not just her that's won that. I think the entire back five, so to speak, of the defenders and her have won that Golden Boot together. Look, Amy's been around longer than I have in terms of this football club, and she knows what this place is all about, and what the badge essentially means. And I think for her to come in and who originally wasn't a goalkeeper a few years ago to come in and do a fantastic, clean sheet performances like that.
And she made a great save last week, by the way, Lee Field. I don't know if we haven't spoken about that as a fan base. I haven't seen anyone, but that was a cracking save in that second half, I think it was. Yeah, look, she got for the top corner. One of the best saves.
Honestly, I think whenever we've been challenged, whenever we've faced teams that have challenged us a little bit, there's always one save a game that Amy will do that it will just create that kind of wow factor, I think. And I think she's got that about her as a player. And I think it's already deserved the Golden Glove. I mean, again, like I said, the whole back four. I think to get that as a unit like that, I think it's credit to them all. And as you said with Lammy, I think to come in, almost she's having to come back from like you're saying, having a child and things like that. But she's not coming back to the same place that we was before. She's coming back into a league above, which is a whole new standard of fitness, whole new standard of quality, and you come in and put the armband on. I think that's a big challenge, a massive challenge. And me and her have had a conversation of this before about how proud I am of her, but she's done phenomenally well. Regardless whether she started or not. We have a lot of rotation at this football club, but just because of the players that we've got. But regardless, she's always come in and done exactly what we've asked her to do, or she's performed exactly in a way whether she's been slightly further forward or she's had to drop back in defence. Like, she's just got that captain's ability about her. Again, she's someone who's been here a while and knows exactly what this football club's about. And I think that you need them kind of players. You need 2-3 leaders. They represent Stourbridge. You know what I mean? They're your core, your leaders. Yeah. So to see her lift the trophy at the end of the season, I think nothing short of magnificent, to be honest.
What's impressed me a lot with Amber this season as well is off the pitch.
Yeah.
The things that she's done on social media, and I think she understands on driving the club forward off the pitch as well. I don't know if this is because of a day job that she does, or just because she's probably towards the end of her career now more than towards the start of her career. I don't know what her future plans are, but what she's done to help drive the club forward, off the field, I think it's not going to notice by fans, because we know that she's really supporting us off the field as well. And I just look at her as a captain this season. It's not just the performances on the pitch; it's like how she's helping people off the pitch as well. And I think she's done a cracking job this season. Time's ticking on. Talk to us a little bit about Wolves then. Cup final at the Molineux, which was an interesting choice of venue. What was your first thought when you heard of Molineux?
Well, I'll be honest with you, my first thought was, as being a Villa fan, I was fuming. It wasn't at Villa Park, and I went to, oh my God, I'm playing at a Premier League venue, but I'm going to walk onto a rival Premier League venue. So I wasn't too happy. But no, look, I mean, I think regardless of what's going to be on the season in terms of the Birmingham FA and the decision to play at the Molineux, we're going to walk into the Lions Den, I think, on Tuesday night, and I think that's probably one of the best ways you can end the season. You've got nothing to lose against a team that you're going to be facing twice a season, maybe even 3 times a season next year. It's a great opportunity for us to go and kind of see where we're at. I think and they'll think the same. That they're going to look at us and think, right, let's see what Stourbridge are going to look like next year. So I think for us, it's going to feel like an away day performance, I think, more than anything. But I think we'll relish that. The girls will relish that. You've got players in this group that love a bit of adversity, love a bit of a bit of grittiness, and I think that's the kind of performance that you're probably going to expect. Like I said, we'll walk into the Lions then. If we can get a result, we'll get a result, and it'd be a brilliant way to end the season regardless.
I spoke very highly of Wolves this season on social media and probably on these podcasts as well. Yeah. They got so unlucky last season, missing out on the playoffs. This season, only missing out on goal average. They are a cracking team, by far the best team outside of Birmingham and Villa, in the Birmingham area. And I think it's a credit to us, the fact, let's talk about this, no matter what happens with the results, because we are massive underdogs for a reason. But I think it's a credit to us that we can look at Wolves thinking, okay, Wolves are up there, but then you look at the other Birmingham clubs and we're not a million miles away. Potentially you can say that we want an equal playing field. And if we had this conversation last year, that wouldn't have been the case. And if we had this conversation 2 years ago, it wouldn't have been the case. We are gradually closing the gap on these other Birmingham-based teams, aren't we? And Wolves just seems to be the one that are flying at the moment, and kind of like our marker, I guess. Someone that, a club that we want to kind of aim to get closer to.
Absolutely, I think we're going to go toe to toe against a team that's got like a Premier League men's side and a fantastic women's section that have performed so well for so many years, and like you say, have been very unlucky 2 years in a row. They'll use that, and we're fully aware that they're going to use that. It's almost they've just missed out on the league. Obviously, I'm unfortunate with the playoff system the year before to go and win a piece of silverware. At the Molineux for themselves, I think it's not a big opportunity. It's not just a big opportunity for us; it's huge for them. To finish the season on a high. So I think it's going to be a game where we're going to have to go toe to toe, and you're going to have to. It's going to be an exciting one. They're that good of a side, and it's a great opportunity. Like I said, opportunity for us to kind of see where we're at, and for them to finish strong. But I think you've got to give them credit. They're such a good side, aren't they? But we back ourselves. We've always backed ourselves against any team. Coming into this league, we didn't come in thinking we're going to have to just sit back and defend. We back ourselves against anybody, I think. And on our day, I trust these girls to put in a good performance.
Harry, I think it's come towards the end of the show. Really, really appreciate you coming on, and we've been trying to do this for a little while.
Yes, yeah.
Hopefully over the summer as well. We'll get a few players, a few transfers here and there. I say transfers. Do we call them transfers? I'm not too sure if we do, but signings at least. Players will leave, players will join us. It'll be great to get you on to hear your thoughts when these things happen as well over the summer.
Of course, yeah.
The season is almost over now, but the channel won't stop, certainly, so keep tuning into the Glassgirls network. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed, and leave a comment to let us know what your thoughts are on Harry's seasons as well.
I don't want to know.
But brilliant, thank you very much, Harry, for joining us, and we'll see everybody again soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.